Okay, and I'll get it started and give people a few more minutes to join our presentations. But for now, hello everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to the Crash Responder Safety Week 2022, All States webinar number 3. My name is Luana Brashears and I'll be helping with facilitating today's webinar. Today's webinar is hosted by the National Operations Center of Excellence in the Federal Highway Administration. Just as a reminder, if you haven't been there yet, NOCoE has a website where we offer a variety of resources to support TISMO. We have news, we have previous webinar recordings. This webinar recording is going to be available there as well. So make sure you can watch that later. And just a reminder, a few of you probably have received a survey regarding Crash Responder Safety Week leads. So I will put a link in the chat pod. And if you're a state lead for Crash Responder Safety Week, please make sure that you fill it out. The idea for that list is that we'll make that available in NOCoE's website. So this is going to be a 90-second survey, very quick for you to fill it out. We just want to make sure we can have a good coordination of all state leads on Crash Responder Safety Week. So just a few logistics for today's webinar. This webinar is recorded, and as I mentioned before, it will be posted on NOCoE's website. All the attendees are encouraged to stay engaged. So you'll see there is a Q&A pod. Please add your questions at the Q&A pod. And also there is a chat pod. So if you have any comments, you can also add questions there if you prefer. Make sure you keep adding your questions there. And one more thing is we thank you for making the time to be here today and learn with all peer state and national associations on how to promote Crash Responder Safety Week. The first half of this webinar, we have everybody on mute. So we kindly ask that you enter your questions and comments just in the chat pods to begin with. For the second half, we'll open the phone lines to hear from all of you. So if you can please add your name, title, and agency in the chat pod and say hello to all your peers. We really appreciate that. And then next, we just have a standard US DOT Federal Highway disclaimer that reinforces the product names may be used during the webinar, but the US government does not endorse any product. Additionally, views and opinions expressed in this presentation are the presenters and do not necessarily reflect those of Federal Highway Administration. And with that, I'll hand it over to Jim Ostrich, today's webinar moderator. It's all yours, Jim.
Thank you, Luana. And again, an extra thank you to the National Operations Center of Excellence. Most of you know that we've received their wonderful support now for over 2 years, not only with Crash Responder Safety Week, but the monthly Talking Tim webinars that have really gained a lot of momentum. And Paul, Joe, and I have the honor to engage our national community with wonderful presenters from across the land in various different technologies and work that's happening in traffic incident management. So thank you again, Luana, and thank you to the NOCoE as we know it. So today, we have some great presenters. You can see the agenda here, and we're going to try to keep things on schedule. I know Vishali, who I must thank as well, Vishali Shah with the AEM Corporation, who has done a magnificent job, Vishali and Matt Morgan and her team with AEM's supporting Paul, Joe, and I again with the wonderful work that we're doing to educate the public, responders, et cetera, across the land. And so hence the importance of Crash Responder Safety Week. So the two presenters today, I'll introduce them here shortly, and then we're going to have time for Q&A, et cetera. Go ahead, Charlie, next slide. So just to recap, here you see Crash Responder Safety Week strategies. not really rocket science, but very, very valuable in the fact that these strategies work. They really reach our audience, and now this being our third year with the communications and outreach contract that I mentioned with Vishali's team, we're making a lot of progress, not only with the social media, but with all the other activities that you see laid out here, A through J. We'll talk more in particular about proclamations here in a second. You can see that we've actually doubled from 2020 to 2021. And I'm just praying and hoping that we double again, if possible, I hope. Proclamations are a big deal. Earlier today, Paul, Joe, and I were talking with our office director, Mark Curley, and the team about, proclamations signed by governors really exposes the traffic incident management programs and the work that's being done to protect responders, motorists, and I dare say bicyclists and pedestrians, all the vulnerable road users. So if you're working on a proclamation, please let us know here in a few minutes when we get to the report out after our presentations. Again, now there is a poll that you see on your screen. Please take a few seconds and check these off, whatever it is that you're doing. It's helpful for us to understand, please.
Hi, Jim, this is Vaishali. I just also wanted to share that by filling this out, we are going to be able to better spotlight what states are doing different activities. So you'll be able to see maps that show this. And so if you've got 3 people, for example, from the state of Washington joining in, all 3 of you can fill this whole question out. And on the back end, with working with NOCoE and Luana, we'll be able to know, that all 3 of you from Washington filled it out. So it'll help us be able to share just how many great things each of your states is doing in planning for Crash Responder Safety Week. So thank you guys so much for taking time to fill it out. I know there are 9 general groups of activities, as well as an other. So if you're doing something different, you can provide a quick answer. So we've got about a third of the participants that have filled out the poll. We'll give it about 30 more seconds, hoping that more of you choose to fill things out. And even if you only know of 1 or 2 things based on your specific view of what's happening in the state, please do go ahead and complete it.
Yeah, Vishali, and I'll add the other activities that may not be on our list here. I would suggest you write them into the chat pod. This webinar is being recorded for administrative purposes. So anything outside of this list, please type it in. And we're up to 113 participants. So bravo and thank you all so much for being here and participating. I'll say that right now, just as an FYI, for example, the responder line of duty deaths as of the 24th of August, we're up to 34 responders killed. The majority, I think 9 being law enforcement, or 12 being law enforcement, pardon me, and 9 firefighters. Let's see, I can tell you real quick, the 12 law enforcement officers, 8 fire EMS, 9 towers, 4 roadway service technicians, and 1 DOT safety service patrol. So one of the reasons that we do what we do, you do what you do.
I think we can complete the poll now. We have about 47 responses. So thank you all for sharing what you're doing in your respective state or local areas.
Okay. So the National Committee is, as the slide states, developing a toolkit, and the one aspect of this toolkit is day of the week social media themes that you see here. Monday, November 14th, starting with Monday, November 14th, the theme, respect our roadside heroes, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, as you can see. And today's presenters are going to cover driver education, and we're super excited about this because we seek to continue to work with states similar to Michigan and other states. Joel, I forgot what state you're with, but that's okay. You can tell us here in a few minutes. But the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, I started to think AMVA is a big organization that Federal Highway, our team, wants to continue collaborating with. So here you see our flyer, 2022 CRSW flyer. And again, Vaishali and her team have done a great job with this, and will be made available very soon. And of course, the hashtag of choice for this year regarding that theme, respect our roadside heroes. So hashtag roadside heroes. Okay, and everybody can see that the flyer will be available in early October, maybe sooner. Okay, without further ado, I'd like to introduce an old friend, as well as a colleague and leader and champion from the state of Michigan, and Dawn Miller. Dawn is an incident operations engineer at Michigan DOT. She's a statewide coordinator as well as an instructor for the National TIM Responder Training. Michigan is branded their program, Michigan Time, Michigan Traffic Incident Management Effort. She analyzes statewide traffic incident data to improve safety and reduce congestion. Dawn has a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Michigan State University, and she is a licensed professional engineer in Michigan. Dawn will speak about Michigan's efforts in driver education during CRSW, and please don't hold back to ask questions through the chat pod. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Dawn. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you to everyone for allowing me to share some resources we have in Michigan to advance driver education about traffic incident management. As Jim mentioned, in Michigan, we branded the National Traffic Incident Management Responder Training Program as My Time for Michigan Traffic Incident Management Effort. Next slide, please. Last fall, we partnered with Michigan State Police and other area responder agencies to create this video to educate drivers about Michigan's Move Over law. The video, Vaishali, do you want to go ahead and play it now? I think you need to share the sound. Do you want to restart?
Responders are called to a traffic crash every 2. Whoa! Now that was close. That's what it's like responding to a crash when drivers don't slow down and move over. First responders are called to a traffic crash every 2 minutes in Michigan,
which adds up to more than 260,000 incidents each year.
In order for them to do their job safely, we all need to do our part.
Focusing on the critical task at hand is difficult when cars are whizzing by.
When you see a stopped emergency vehicle with flashing emergency lights, you are required by law to slow down at least 10 miles per hour below the posted speed limit.
The law also requires you to move over at least one lane if you can do so safely.
If you can't move over, slow down.
Michigan's move over law applies to law enforcement, firefighters, emergency medical services, tow trucks, freeway courtesy patrol, and road maintenance vehicles.
Notice the difference when drivers slow down? Slow down. Move over. It's the law. Well, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Summer.
Thank you. This video, go back to the other slide, please. So this video can be accessed on YouTube. And we've also, that's our press release on the left that we used last year. And we incorporated the link right there in the press release. So media could share the video, play the video, however they wanted to use it. We also have used this video on social media to promote Crash Responder Safety Week. And we also have it posted on our public-facing MyTime website that's at michigan.gov. Next slide, please. This brochure was created together with MDOT and the Michigan State Police Office of Highway Safety Planning. This describes what Michigan's move over law is. It also emphasizes that authorized emergency vehicles include tow trucks, road service vehicles, and also safety service patrol. This brochure is available free to Michigan residents. They can order up to 250 of these brochures for free. These are great materials to have available at open houses such as fire departments have, safety day events. These brochures are also available in Arabic and Spanish as well as English. Next slide, please. This is Travel Michigan TV. These are monitors that are posted in public areas that are accessible by the public 24/7. They have a video loop that shows tourism, destinations, and attractions in the state of Michigan. These monitors are a partnership between MDOT and West Michigan Tourist Association and a company called WM Vision. The videos are on a loop. This particular monitor is at the Coldwater Welcome Center, which is in southern Michigan. All the welcome centers that have these travel monitors are shown in the red stars on the map there on the right. The 4 blue stars, those are rest areas that also have this travel TV. And the agreement allows MDOT to also post MDOT news and safety messages. And that is how we were able to post this message. The bottom photographs are a snapshot of a move over video that we also show at our Secretary of State branch offices that let motorists know how they need to comply with the move over law in Michigan. And as I said, it was a partnership, and the agreement, the advertising dollars for the tourist attractions is what pays for the monitors. So there is no cost to MDOT. Next slide, please. This booklet has 74 pages in it. It is published by the Michigan Secretary of State. The Secretary of State offices in Michigan have the duties for driver's licensing and vehicle registrations, similar to what some states' Department of Motor Vehicles have to have these activities take place. In this booklet, 2 areas focus on traffic incident management. The drivers need to learn the material that's in this pamphlet in order to pass the written exam that they'll need in order to get their driver's license. There's 2 sections. One talks about the move over law. It again emphasizes which are authorized emergency vehicles that include road service vehicles, tow trucks, and also safety service patrols, as well as including the information about the requirement to slow down at least 10 miles per hour and move over if it's safely possible to do so. Chapter 7 has some information about what motorists are to do if they're involved in a crash There's no serious injuries. The vehicle is drivable. They're required, Michigan law requires them to move their vehicle out of the main traveled portion of the roadway to a shoulder, median, or other parking lot, and then take care of the requirements of reporting the crash. Safer for everyone, safer for the motorists, the drivers, and for law enforcement, who other responders that are showing up to help them manage this incident. Next slide, please. And the final item I would like to discuss today is our My Time training has been improved for several responder disciplines, as you can see on the slide. And I'm also pursuing professional development course approval for Michigan driver education instructors. The driver education instructors have to have a approved professional development course that they've attended every 2 years in order to maintain their certification. I did submit the materials to the Department of State to approve this course, and unfortunately, they did not give it approval. They did offer that we could provide training materials on their website so that the driver education instructors could access the materials. I'm not satisfied with this response, and so I'm going to continue to pursue. I don't think they understand how valuable it would be to have the driver education instructors, since they're the first point of education for these new drivers, that they can really emphasize the risk that responders and motorists are involved with when they encounter a traffic incident, and how important it is for them to remember to slow down and move over, and especially pay attention. Next slide, please. And there is my contact information in case you have any questions. This is also a postcard that we have available and share to help promote the My Time training. It does have the information about our My Time website on the bottom, which also includes the video that you just saw at the earlier part of the presentation. And with that, I'll send it back to you. Thank you.
Dawn, thank you. Outstanding work. Certainly a model for other states. Please take note. As I said, Joe, Paul, and myself, we very much are interested in other states taking advantage of the presentations today. I'm sure Dawn and Joel here in a minute that I'm going to introduce would be glad to advise anyone today on the webinar on how to get things going with your Motor Vehicle Administration or Department of Motor Vehicles, however you refer to it. But that is just a great resources and just a great way to reach the younger drivers to understand the dangers and how they can help protect our responders and themselves while in the course of driving. So thanks again, Dawn. And next up, we have Joel Feldman. Joel is the president of the Casey, I'm sorry, Joel, if I mispronounced that. One of those
Casey.
two.
Casey. Yes.
Okay, the Casey Feldman Foundation /NDistractedDriving.org. Sad to note, and Joel lost his daughter to a distracted driver, and he has spent the bulk of his professional time on distracted driving educational programs. He works with the state traffic safety offices, USDOT, emergencyresponder.safety.com, and the National Traffic Safety Board, Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, and has given more than 900 presentations to teens and adults. He's a recovering distracted driver himself. Like, I think if we're all honest, we know we've been guilty at some point as well. So Joe will speak on various education materials that he developed in the collaboration with various agencies and associations, as well as other efforts to educate and raise awareness on distracted driving. Please ask questions for our speaker through the chat pod. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Joel. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And I really appreciate the opportunity to speak in this webinar with all the folks who are on board. I think if we talk about distracted driving, we're talking about a story of hypocrisy, right? I'm an attorney in Philadelphia. I've represented people who've been injured, families of those killed by distracted driving, and I drove distracted all the time. I think the attitude really is, well, it's not dangerous when I do it, but it sure is dangerous, and I don't like it when I see the guy in the car next to me doing it. So we've gone quite a ways since my daughter Casey was killed in 2009. And why don't you go to the next slide? And that's a picture of Casey. She was killed, and I never say she died anymore. I say my daughter was killed because a 58-year-old man in Ocean City, New Jersey, decided to take his eyes off the road and look for his GPS. He rolled through a stop sign. Casey was a pedestrian. He never saw her. He hit her. We got the call to come to the hospital. And 4 hours later, we were told, actually, the surgeons didn't really even have to say anything. They just walked into the room where we were waiting, and you looked at their faces, and we knew that Casey was dead. But I told my kids not to drive distracted, but I drove distracted. And I bet there's plenty of other folks on this call who are parents, and we probably have not been such good role models for our children. So I think it's a story of hypocrisy. I don't spend a lot of time in my educational programs talking about the danger of distracted driving. Well, with an exception, if it's driver's ed kids or younger, I will. But if folks have had their licenses for a while, and unfortunately most have successfully driven distracted, meaning they haven't yet been in a crash, I don't think danger is the way to get through to them. So we talk about a number of different things. And I will tell you that emergency responders, you guys were not on my radar at all. I mean, I was talking about distracted driving. I was doing high school talks, business talks, and it wasn't until the good folks from Cumberland Valley Volunteer Firefighters Association, ERSI, contacted me and explained to me what the issue was. And I said, gosh, yeah, there's something going on there. And so I thought about it. If you've got your lights flashing on the side of the highway, why are people running into you? And my answer is because if they're not looking at the road, they don't see those flashing lights, they're looking at their phone. So that's why it seems to me that to help you guys and to help everybody, we need to cut back on distracted driving. Next one, please. So this is just a summary of the resources that we have available. There's high school presentations, elementary school presentations. There's also a brand new K-2 picture book, which I'll talk about in some detail later. And as you said, so that's just a summary. Let's go to the next one, please. So my friends at Cumberland Valley, the National Volunteer Firefighters Council, particularly the new, I believe she's the deputy director, Candace McDonald. I've worked with her a while, and, you know, I mean, this just kind of says it, you know, we need to have the local part of this. So my association over the last couple of years with EMS firefighters, first responders on the local level, I think that's going to be fruitful, and I'm very optimistic about it. Next one, please. I was introduced to the concept of CRR plans also by the folks at Cumberland Valley and ERSI, and there's a really good article that a gentleman from Lubbock, Texas, Brady Robinette, wrote. It's in the Fire Engineering Journal, February 2022. And at the end of this presentation are all the links to everything. And this presentation is, anybody could have this one. So I just say that out loud to the hosts. They can give this to anybody. But we need to have distracted driving education as part of our CRR plans. Okay, next one. All right, so, you know, you start doing this, and I'm asked by first responders, police, to go out and tell the story of my daughter in schools, and I did it. And it occurred to me one day, what do I know about changing people's attitudes and behaviors, especially when I knew how dangerous distracted driving was. I'd argue it in the courtroom, but I would drive distracted. So that began a long process of figuring out whether or not there's any science behind presentations. And my law office is in Philadelphia. I live in Southern New Jersey, and I spend tons of time in Colorado, where my son lives. So I've worked with different people, researchers in different areas. We've done a lot of pre and post presentation surveys. And just very recently, as a matter of fact, in August, NHTSA US came out with a paper where they analyzed hundreds and hundreds of our pre and post presentation high school surveys under the rubric of a child to parent distracted driving intervention. And thank God they found that we were being effective. You know, you think about this and you say, yeah, it feels right to me, but is it having the desired effect? And thank God, as I said, that they found that it was in a number of different domains. And the site is at the end if anyone wants to look at it. I will tell you, it's an ungodly long report. It's like 93 pages, but God bless you if you want to read through that. But my point is, we do have some science behind this. And if you're going to use this presentation, you can rest assured that it has been tested and it's effective. Next one, please. So we have presentations for high school. They're adaptable from 40 to 75 minutes. If you've got a PC, we've got you covered. If you have a Mac, we have you covered. And as it says, the notes are essentially a script. In the spring, in April, during Distracted Driving Awareness Month, with Ursi, I did a training video, which is available. And being a lawyer, when we started doing this, I knew that I certainly couldn't reach as many kids as we needed to reach. So I reached out to trial lawyers. I'm a trial lawyer, reached out to trial lawyers across the country. And that's why today, more than 500,000 students have seen this presentation. Next one. So I want to play this in a moment, but I just want you to think to yourselves, and why don't you just share in the chat what your responses are to this bus driver video. This is part of the high school presentation. I'm going to show you a little bit of it so you can get a sense of what we do. Okay, you can run the video. And there's no sound yet, but that's okay. This one doesn't have any sound, but later on the other videos do. Again, just in the chat box, if you will, just kind of tell me, what do you think? How do you react to this? You got a wow. Fire him, disturbing, shocking. I'll just let some of these catch up to us. What is he writing? Is that for his job? Yeah, apparently he saved himself 3 minutes if he filled out his paperwork before he got to the terminal. The story behind this actually was a 17-year-old girl was on the bus. She, by all accounts, asked him nicely to stop. He kind of ignored her, I guess, because she was a kid. She took the video, and within 48 hours, she found his what do you call his boss? A terminal supervisor, and he was fired. I play this in my high school talks, but also my adult talks at businesses and conferences. Next one, please. You just click it again. So let's click it one more time. These are the typical reactions that we get, typical reactions. Now, here's something I think is so very important in the fight against distracted driving. And what is the fight? Compare it to drunk driving. We don't drive drunk. Well, I won't say that. Most of us don't drive drunk. Most of us think it's deplorable to do so, right? But we're not there yet with distracted driving. So a lot of people say, well, we need to make distracted driving socially unacceptable, like we have with drunk driving. How do we do it? How do we think about it? How do we think about distracted driving? Click it one more time. Until actually in the chat box just now, I've never, ever, and I've shown this to about 10,000 adults, and I'm assuming each and every one of you is an adult. I've never, ever had any adult say irresponsible. That's the first time. So whoever you are, congratulations, you think young. What is the difference? If we're going to talk about the way adults do, that it's dangerous, that it's risky, we're not getting anywhere with that. Kids will tell you, oh, my mom says everything is risky. I don't even listen anymore. Danger doesn't move people because most of us have successfully, meaning not yet been in a crash, driven distracted. But look at the kids. That driver is selfish. That driver is irresponsible. That driver is disrespectful. That's how we're going to get this done, by changing the way we think about distracted driving, and the kids have it right. Next one, please. One thing I'll tell you, I've done a lot of polling over the summer, and I do a lot of PSAs, and I'm working on a bunch now. I heard over and over and over again, when you ask kids, what'll it take to get you to put the phone down? They kept telling me, if I thought what it would do to my mom would never be the same. My mom would never be the same. Roll this one.
These are the shears I use to cut through your clothes. This is a table where I'll put your purse, your wallet, your jewelry, your phone. This is the clock. We'll mark the time. This is the bag I'll wrap around your body. Real well, tell you about your kid. Put down the phone. Pay attention to the road.
So we're going to be doing more stuff highlighting that. Next one, please. Next one. And this is just, roll this one. This is just part, you can play it. This is, and there is some sound in this one. I'll give you an advance warning. Part of our high school presentation. It sounded like we had sound, but we no longer have sound. Yeah, we need the sound.
Is the sound coming up?
It's not.
Okay, let me try one more time. It was coming before. Give me 1 second.
Well, okay.
Let me try one more time. Sorry, not sure.
And then I'll narrate it. That's okay.
Okay, let me go ahead and just play it.
Oh, good. Well, I'm sorry the sound isn't working, but in essence, she doesn't speak up the first time she sees Dad looking at his phone. We get a rewind and a playback after the crash.
I love you, but I don't feel safe when you drive me and look at your phone.
He said, sorry, and he put the phone down. So again, the idea is we're teaching people.
First, put the phone down. You may not get a second chance.
We're teaching people how to speak up, and it all comes down to using what's called an I statement versus a you statement. In the questions and answers, I can talk about this more. I want to try to stay on time. So let's go to the next one. We also have an elementary school lesson plan. It's 30 minutes. We have one for second and third, one for fourth and fifth grade. And these are generally what teachers do. The rest of this stuff, the high school presentation, and as I'll get to in a moment, the K-2 picture book, that's what you guys can go into schools and do. This generally teachers do, but it's just something to have available and know about. Let's go to the next one. And if we don't have sound, I think I'll just ask you to skip it. Just play it and see what happens.
Do you have sound? All right, that's very odd. Give me 3 seconds. I'm going to try to get the sound back. Just a second.
So we did a lot of surveys of teachers and all, and teachers said, yes, distracted driving is something that you can teach elementary school kids about.
I love Mr. Burke and Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith is the nicest person. Uh-oh. What's this? Mom's phone is a distraction, and distractions make it dangerous.
My teachers right now, they're pretty amazing. We're not getting much homework. Mom! Mom, you're not driving safely.
How about we try that again?
Mom, it scares me when you're driving and looking at your phone at the same time.
What comes next? Maybe I should send that text for you, Mom.
Or I can. Can I, please? Or can I add an emoji at least?
Sorry, guys, you're right. I should really be watching the road. I'll text him that you call him when we get to the store.
Can we get chips?
All right, let's go to the next one. That's just part of this. We have an animated character. We've got a lot of materials. We've got a script for teachers, a facilitator's guide. USDOT had also tested this one for efficacy, and unfortunately during the pandemic, we didn't have enough schools participating, but that is an open program. So if anyone knows of schools or wants to use it in elementary schools, we can equip you with not only the presentation, but the pre and post surveys. Here is our K-2 picture book. It's an early intervention book to teach kids about distracted driving. In essence, this is what mom is doing. This is what dad is doing. This is distracted driving. How do we speak up? Go to the next part of it. Next slide. And then we also incorporated in here the move over law. And of course, that's from my work with Cumberland Valley, the move over law, teaching kids about the move over law. And I will say that I've had some requests from tow operators and highway workers, construction workers, to if we could do something for them. And the illustrator and author have said yes. So this is just a call out to you folks. Get me a couple of pictures of tow trucks engaged in the course and scope of your business, highway workers, just something you'd like to have in the book, and maybe some words that you want associated with it. And the illustrator and the author and I will work on it, and we'll get that in this book as well. Next one, please. The book is currently being given out, and we still have a couple hundred, maybe about 500 or 600 free copies, courtesy of Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation, who paid for the printing, and firefighters and others are taking them into schools. And I'll tell you, it is a blast getting back into schools. It is a blast talking to kids. I mean, it's so much fun talking to little kids. Next one. And again, it's a Dr. Seussy kind of thing here. It rhymes. And we're showing the kids what these things are and how you can speak up and be effective. And a lot of this in terms of a passenger intervention, child to parent distracted driving intervention, is how do we increase intervention confidence? That's what the psychologists call it. And we've built that into the program. Next one. And it's an I statement. You know, if you tell someone, hey, you're a terrible driver, you're going to cause a crash, they probably get defensive. If you say, hey, I don't feel safe when you drive me and look at the road, they feel badly and they put the phone down. Generally, you don't even have to ask them to put the phone down. Next one, please. And that's the end of that one. And let's just stay on time. Let's go through this, and of course, we'll answer questions. I just want to talk real quickly. October 20th I'm working with the NTSB and a number of organizations around the country, a National Day of Awareness for Do Not Disturb while driving, focused driving, one of those settings that blocks your phone's notifications. So when you're driving, they're just blocked. And we're going to have, by September 25th, we're going to have a complete toolkit contest. We've just recorded some PSAs, substantive PSAs, but also instructional PSAs, like how do you actually on an Android, an iPhone, and a Google Pixel phone, how do you actually engage this sort of thing? So we would love partners for it. Next one, please. Next one.
I think this is the last slide.
Is it the last one? Okay. The way to get a hold of me is just at enddistracteddriving.org, info@enddistracteddriving.org. And there were 3 or 4 more slides though that had all of the links. I'm not sure.
Let me
I'm
go
not
back
sure what
and-
happened to those.
Okay, I'll go back and check. Give me a second. 1 minute. Okay, I'm going to try to bring it back after we do the next.
Sure. You have the presentation. If anybody wants it, anybody could have the whole thing. What age group of kids is the book intended to reach? K through 2. So I guess that's what, 5 through 8, 6 through 8, I think.
Yes.
I'm sure somebody can correct me on that. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Joel. But boy, you've blown me away, and I'm sure everyone else on today's webinar. I have so many thoughts going through my mind on how we can further collaborate. I just have to applaud you, Joel. You make us all proud, and certainly your daughter, Joel. I sometimes get emotional, so I got to be careful.
Thanks, Jim.
Here you are, a man, a father that has lost his daughter and just done incredible work, Joel. And so I know we probably have a lot of questions, but I know that I definitely want to follow up with you. One real quick question though is, I know you've worked with ERC and the great people over at CVVFA, respondersafety.com, which we all know well. But have you actually engaged with AMVA that I mentioned earlier? Brian Orsino, who's the president of the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators? Not yet?
I have not, no.
Okay. Well, that's one person I'd love to connect you with. And I'm sure others on the call have lots of other ideas. So anyway, I won't belabor that more. We'll just follow up with you. But huge thanks to Dawn and you both for wonderful presentations, sorely needed presentations. And one other thing, I just have to mention this, those little holders that everybody has on their dashboards to hold these devices, your phones, your iPhones and all that. I've always thought to myself, I've never used one, installed one. Some are just magnets. Some of them are fixed pedestals that everybody puts these devices in. And when those things first came out, I thought they should have been outlawed, because that's just right there, right in your face. And of course, people are going to use them. So, I don't know, time-wise, Vishali.
You have about 10 minutes for Q&A, so.
Okay.
And I did find, I apologize, Joel, I did find the links, but Luana has been kind enough to put all of the links that are on the presentation in the chat pod. So for those of you that want those resources, they are on the chat pod as well. So I'm going to go ahead and
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and share there we go. The high school presentation links are here for Mac and PC. The Distracted Driving Coalition the elementary school presentations are here. And these will all be made available after the webinar as a PDF as well on the NOCoE site. And then, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all accessible. So with that, let me go ahead and turn it over. If you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat pod. If you want more information on specific resources that Dawn or Joel offered, feel free to put that in as well. All right. Let me go ahead and bring it back. There we go. So anyone with questions, and I'm going to go and look back to see if there was anything put in the chat pod or the Q&A.
We open the lines too.
Luana, yeah.
Luana, just in case anybody wants to speak up.
Yes, everybody can raise their hands and we'll let them speak up. They should be able to.
Okay.
Or they can go ahead and unmute themselves if they don't find it. But the raise hand is right in the bottom of your screen. It says raise hand there, so it should be pretty straightforward. Let me know. You can text me in the chat if you can find that option.
Okay. While people are thinking about what they may want to ask, do we want to go ahead and talk about a couple of other things, Jim, in terms of?
Yeah, of course. And at the end, I also would like to ask my colleagues, Paul Joden and Joe Tebow, to make some remarks. So just FYI, if they're available. So what's the next slide here?
Sure, just a second. There we go. I think we wanted to go over again sort of what different states are doing as far as Crash Responder Safety Week. And so this is, I think today we have over 30 state representatives, whether it be from transportation, law enforcement, fire EMS, towing. And so we wanted to do the all-state report out to see what different agencies are doing. So let me go ahead, and I think I have an updated list. There we go. So I'm going to highlight the states that actually are on the call today, and we're going to ask you to go ahead and unmute yourself so that you can go ahead and do a quick report out to share what, if anything, you guys are doing or what's new or different. So let me go ahead. So shall we start with Alabama? I think we have somebody from Alabama, so. All right. I'm not sure if you're having trouble with the mute unmute, but let's go ahead and see if there's anyone from Arizona or Arkansas that might want to share. All right, go ahead, Denise. I see you've raised your hand.
Okay, my computer cut out through half of that and just
You're breaking up, Denise.
Never truly 100%.
We're sorry, Denise. You're
think bad connection.
Yeah.
And now,
try again. Maybe just
okay.
bring
I'll put
yourself
it in
physically closer to the laptop. All right.
No, I think my issues.
All right, I think we're going to have to come back to you. I apologize. We can't quite hear what you're saying. Perhaps, I hate to ask you, but perhaps text it in the chat pod and we'll read it out loud. In the meantime, anyone from California, Colorado, or Connecticut who'd like to share what they're doing?
Lou's from Arizona.
Please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. I don't know if we have any other people from Arizona from some of our Aztec Tim Coalition group, but we are planning on, we have submitted the for a governor's proclamation that got just submitted yesterday. So hopefully we will get that in time back for us to be able to start promoting that. Our through our Aztec Tim Coalition, we have several of our agencies that are coordinating with their, PIOs, doing some social media promotions during CRSW week. So we're coordinating all of those activities and hopefully be able to put some sort of spreadsheet together of what everybody is going to be working on during that week. We had already scheduled our virtual TIM training class for November 9th, which is a week before the announcement was made of the actual CRSW week. So we do have that virtually planned, and we will be promoting that training class throughout. We also have our TIM Awards presentation. We're scheduling that for November 1st, but we've got, a TIM Lifetime Award, an annual award, and then we are also will be awarding some training awards to those who have met certain criteria as far as training classes and number of students that they've trained during the year. And then we usually have our kickoff. Our move over day is October 15th. And so we are the Arizona Professional Tours Association coordinates a parade, and then also some activities during the day to promote to the general public, the move over law, and bring all the agencies together to help promote that to the general public. So that takes place in October, kind of kicks off all of the activities for TIM for the year. And I think that's all we have right now that we are planning.
Well, Luz, thank you for that report out. In Arizona, every year we can count on Arizona to do great things for CRSW and in TIM and all the rest of it. So thank you and all your stakeholders, partners. So I want to go back real quick, Vishali. I was going to take over the report out. Is anybody from Alabama on the call? Please, quickly. And if you're not, as Vishali said, please type in the chat pod what your activities are. So Arkansas, I know I saw Lieutenant Perkins join earlier. Sorry, Brett, or Brad, I should say, for putting you on the spot. If you don't want to say anything, that's all right. But
Brad actually has his hand up as.
Cool.
As do
Good,
Robert.
Brad talk.
Sorry, go ahead, Brad.
Sorry, I couldn't get the audio stuff worked out. This year we'll be planning our normal DMS campaign. We'll also be doing our TIM training Blitz. So we try to host training classes in each of our 5 regions and have media come out and cover that as well. So that's our big efforts, along with our social media campaign, alabamatim.org, Facebook.
Okay, I'm like, this isn't RDOT.
So that's what our plans are currently.
Thank you, Brett. You're Alabama, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was confused there for a second because I was calling out Lieutenant Brad Perkins from Arkansas, but I'm so happy you chimed in, sir. Thank you.
No worries.
For the good work. So
we also have Brett Sellers and Robert.
Brett is who just spoke, Vishali. Brett Sellers.
Oh, sorry. Then Brad Perkins also has his hand up.
Okay, Lieutenant, go for it.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Like that, I know Denise was trying to chime in just a little bit earlier for RDOT. I know we're working on a proclamation to the governor and some overhead message boards and some media information to be put out. But also, I know I've talked to you, Jim, earlier about Arkansas is putting together a new advanced traffic incident management training center here in the Little Rock area. We're hoping it to be fully operational by the end of December, but in November for this, the Crash Responder Safety Week, I'm trying to put together a training program that RDOT is going to assist me with to teach responders, your tow operators and your fire departments, how to set up proper lane closures. So that's kind of what we've got going in a nutshell.
Excellent, Lieutenant. Thanks for sharing that, Brad. We look forward to it. Paul, Joe, and I, our team, we're all looking forward to your track, ribbon cutting and all the rest of it. From who did I just see there a minute ago?
We have Robert. Robert has had his hand up for a while. Robert Pamukala. Apologize if I say it incorrectly.
Go ahead, Robert.
Yes, hi, Jim. I didn't want to go out of order. I think I was a little quick on a draw, but it's New Jersey.
Yeah, I was going to say New Jersey. How you doing?
Good. Do you want me to go now or do you want to stay in order?
Please, yes.
Okay, so we're going to continue with, like we do every year, our social media blitz, some of our overhead signs throughout the state, rest areas. We're currently working on our new batch of revamped posters that we usually change the picture and change the theme a little bit each year for Crash Responder Safety Week. We also put in for the governor's proclamation. I just needed to correct you 1 second. We did have that last year. This will be our second year.
right.
And I believe we are actually looking to do it on a regular basis. In other words, trying to figure out how to word it so we don't have to get it every year. We automatically have it, along with some classes during that week of Crash Responder Safety Week. Some TIM classes we're going to be running. We tried to get a date for a train the trainer for our state. Unfortunately, it's going to be about 2 weeks before Crash Responder Safety Week, but I'm hoping some of those trainers that we get out will get some classes going, and we can get some more people trained during that week. We couldn't get a date during that week just with the venue where we wanted, so we had to settle on October 21st. So that's what we're working on for this year.
Excellent, Robert. Thanks for the report out, and send our regards to Sal and everyone.
Will do.
Okay, so I kind of like this jumping around a little bit. Who wants to go next? Anybody want to just open their mic or raise their hand if you want to be more formal? I know I can always, well, Pat Rooney, Maryland, are you there? Thought I saw Pat earlier. Georgia, Brian Purvis.
Yeah. Hey, Jim. Hey, guys. So we also got Ruth Warrington Lee on from our Time Task Force. I do know that I've been on a bunch of calls with our Traffic Management Center, with our Georgia Time Task Force. They have a ton of stuff going on that week. We do have the governor's proclamation. They are looking at social media, pushing out a lot of information. Definitely putting things on the overhead message boards. So yeah, you'll see quite a bit of activity in the state of Georgia. I know just with the CHAMP program, we've got training. It's about a week or two early, but we're training all of our staff and doing some recognition and rewards and things like that based on Crash Responder Week. And we'll definitely be pushing it out as hard as we can. So anything else that and we listen to all of these webinars to find out other best practices that the other states are doing. So have at it, and we'll jump in and try to comply with whatever you guys have. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Brian, so much.
You got me now, Jim.
Here, Pat Rooney, Maryland. How are you?
Good. How's everything? Had a hard time getting unmuted, but we're there now.
Okay.
We're doing pretty much the same thing that we did everything virtually last 2 years. But kind of prior to COVID, we have a big media event planned for up at the Maryland State Fairgrounds. Going to have everybody participating in that: Maryland State Police, Maryland Department of Transportation Police. The state police have committed that, weather provided, we are going to have one of the state police helicopters there on display for the media and for anybody else that shows up for it. And we're doing the DMS signs. We already have the governor's proclamation. Actually, I think it's actually done. It just hasn't been given to us yet. And, we're going to have some guest speakers, some of which are still yet to be decided on, because of rank and authority. So, I know the original plan was to ask the Secretary of Transportation for Maryland to say a few words. So I know that's, in the works. We'll get something more definitive on that. We just today found out that American Towman is going to send the Spirit Ride to it. That week, the end of the week, is the big conference and convention downtown with American Towman. And they were going to have the Spirit Ride for that. And they're actually sending it up to us a few days early, just so that they can participate in the media event. So that is going to be the 14th of November, for a change, not having to battle with leave days on Veterans Day this year. We put it on Monday, and so we're going to be putting that event on for Monday. And between now and then, we're going to have several training sessions And that week, probably midweek, we are going to try to do like a mega class. We'd like to try to shoot for doing a class of about 200. So we actually already have a couple of places lined up for that we would be able to use. And the thing is, now we just need to get a commitment from the law enforcement, fire rescue, EMS, and tow to show up for it. So, and I think that's just about it with everything.
Okay, Patrick, as always, leading in the state of Maryland, State Highway Administration, Department of Transportation. Great job, Patrick. We look forward to it. Kirsten Weldon.
Yes, sir, from Idaho.
Welcome.
Thank you. While I cannot speak as to what's going on the, for the safety weeks coming up, what I can talk about here is our campaign as far as our distracted driving, things along that line. We are currently, our current program is what we're referring to as SHIFT. It's a SHIFT campaign. I just added in the link for that. And that actually kind of covers a lot of the different areas that the Office of Highway Safety here in Idaho is, is where we're focusing and how we're kind of handling that end of things. For those of you that do go to that website, if you go all the way down to the bottom of it, or as you're heading through, you'll see a Sasquatch, which is over this last 2 years has become our mascot. That mascot actually came to us through the use of a crash report. So pretty good backstory there.
Yes.
And then as far as our TIM stuff goes, the person who is in charge of the TIMS program through the Department of Transportation, we are still working on filling that spot. We've suffered along with everybody else as far as trying to, keep and maintain folks. But what we do have is in the state of Idaho, TIMS training since 2018 has been part of our post for law enforcement. And I am currently in the process of trying to get it into the training, the standard training for all EMS right now.
Outstanding. That is music to our ears, Kirsten. My goodness, Paul, I'm pretty sure is still on. He's probably, jumping up and down, and Joe, because we had that call recently with your state, and we very much want to help you. And so we applaud everything you're doing, Kirsten.
So, Jim, one thing to note, the governor's proclamation effort is actually something that is often started with the Department of Public Safety or law enforcement group. Sometimes it's even started by an EMS group within a state DOT. And so I did share the link on how easy and quickly one can make a request for a governor's proclamation, shared it directly with Kirsten. And I'll be happy to share the resource that's on the NOCoE site for your state. What is the link by which you would request the governor's proclamation? So for any other folks that are on this call, click on that link and you'll be able to see, how do we make that request in our state? And how early do we have to make that request?
Yeah, it's not too late. It's real close, but it's not too late. If you're interested in doing one, just start today. We really suggest that you do, and we want to really at one point have all 50 states DC and Puerto Rico, but we'll take any other new states as well as the previous states for sure. So thanks again, Kirsten and Patrick. Anybody from Iowa? I think I skipped Florida. If you're having trouble unmuting, I apologize. I've seen a couple folks say that. Kansas.
Hi, this is Shivraj with the Traffic Management Center for Kansas DOT. From what I know, and we still need to have our internal meeting on this to finalize some details, but we do plan on having messaging on our signboards, and some social media campaigns out of it. So that's all I know at this point for Kansas, unless there's someone else on the call.
Outstanding. Thank you for speaking up. And we're here to help as well. That's great news from Kansas. Let's see, New Mexico. I'm going to start from the bottom. New Mexico. Anybody? Already heard from New Jersey, and I saw Pat Gallagher on earlier, and maybe some others from Nevada.
Jim, I'm not sure if Terry Thompson has already spoken, but she has her hand up.
Oh, Connecticut, Terry Thompson, please.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're gearing up for trying to do something a little bit bigger than we did in the past due to the COVID. And I already just completed the draft for the proclamation that will be going over to the governor's office for his signature. They need a bit of time, so anybody doing proclamations, just a reminder, usually it takes at least 30 to 45 days sometimes for the proclamation. We're doing message boards again. We'll be doing a lot of social media. And I'm very grateful to an organization that we are partnering with this year. It's Flagman Safety. And they're a nonprofit organization, very focused on slow down, move over for responders and also for the highway workers. We just had an event this last Saturday with a bunch of towing and recovery people. And I'm helping her with education materials. For those that don't know, Flagman was brought from an unfortunate death. It's Cindy Iodice started this organization because of the death of her brother, Corey Iodice, on a parkway where he was helping a disabled motorist and a vehicle struck and killed him in Westport, Connecticut. So we're working very hard with her on really getting the message out and helping her build that partnership. Other news, Senator Blumenthal from Connecticut is sponsored a resolution with a Senate resolution that has gone up to Congress with U.S. Senator Mike Braun of Indiana for a national move over law day. And right now, I think it's sitting in Transportation Committee. We're hoping that this goes through and it becomes a national move over day so that it'll give a lot more weight to our efforts, and then that we can push more out, similar to a lot of work that I've done with the Connecticut Work Zone Safety. So hopefully that will come about very soon. And that's it for me for now.
Excellent. Thanks, Terry. Great work that you always do. We're rooting for you, and just great work. Don Miller.
Hi, Jim. Michigan, we're gonna have a proclamation from the governor. And as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, we'll also have a media release. We're planning a media event at AAA headquarters in Dearborn, which is near the Detroit area. And we'll be posting move over messages and information about Crash Responder Safety Week on social media. And we will also promote the video that you all saw.
Excellent.
Also some TIM trainings. I think we'll try to have some of those as well. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody in Mississippi or Missouri?
Hey, I'm Lee Davis here. Can you hear me?
Hey, Lee.
Hey.
Great to hear your voice. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yeah, we're working on the governor's proclamation, also just social media and the message boards.
Awesome.
So trying to get through this water crisis, but we'll get there.
Yes, sir. Lee, that's great. Thank you for that report. Let us know if you need anything.
Okay, thanks.
I also see LaShawn Ford from Nevada with his hand up.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, LaShawn Ford, Nevada DOT. Just like last year, we'll be doing our governor's proclamation again. Additionally, for for Crash Responder Safety Week, we do a social media campaign, DMS campaign, and we have a video that we made in previous years that we also like to circulate on social media. So we'll be doing those activities again this year.
Outstanding. Thank you, LaShawn.
So one thing, Jim, if I might interject, for those of you that are creating new flyers or videos or promotional materials, can you please share that with us, either a link to it or the actual product? Because we'd love to be able to feature it. We have a resource site on NOCoE for Crash Responder Safety Week, and it'd be great to be able to add that to the resource site so others can, duplicate instead of, and hopefully reuse what you created. So I see Arthur Howe has his hand up.
Hello from Harpswell, Maine, coastal town about 30 miles northeast of Portland. Interesting seaside community in that we literally only have 2 roads in and out of town here, both state routes, high-speed travel, but literally only 2 roads, and otherwise you come by boat or seaplane. But we're excited because Portland will be hosting the Northeast Traffic Safety Conference the first week of October 4 and 5. And for anyone interested, Portland is a great city and a wonderful place to have a conference. So October 4 and 5 are the dates, and I'm excited to be one of the attendees of that conference from the EMS side of the world. So I don't know if the governor has a proclamation. I'm assuming so, but I'm certainly going to find out. And thanks for the opportunity to be on board here.
Thank you, Arthur. And all you need is one road. So anyway, no, my wife and I vacation in Maine, a beautiful state. Thank you very much. Anything we can do, let us know. Who's next? I know Virginia emailed me earlier, by the way, Vishali. Their proclamation is just waiting for the signature. They did one last year and they have a whole host of activities as usual.
Thank you. I'll note that. And Tony Casella, I think, is coming up.
Great.
Hi, Jim. Tony Casella with MnDOT. We're doing the proclamation as well. We're planning a media in-person event, which will contain our first program, our safety service patrol, our local police and fire, state patrol, county maintenance, and then we're working on a personal impact statement. Individuals involved. One of my city officers is actually on this call that's helping coordinate that. Our original plan was actually to use, we had a local officer that was attempting to remove debris from the roadway and was actually struck by an impaired driver. So we were trying to get a family member of his to be part of this. And we're kind of moving on to plan B, which is possibly going to be a tow truck driver that's been struck. And that sounds like it's a pretty good possibility, but that's a work in progress. We're waiting for the release of the flyers or posters from your office to kind of move forward on those. Some things that we're working on are to share the message at our driver's license exam stations and the monitors, the rest areas to use non-portable changeable message signs to place those in safe locations, most likely not on the highway. We're talking about ride-alongs, but apparently that's going to be weather dependent here in Minnesota with our state patrol and our first program. We're working on a joint advisory between the Minnesota DOT and the Minnesota State Patrol that will be led by our TZD office, dependent upon whether we, if we're successful with doing the in-person event. We have 2 separate bridges over the river. One is the Interstate 35W bridge. On Monday, both bridges will be illuminated on Monday night with the 5 different disciplines throughout that night to kick off on Monday. We will share through social media.
We got signs, we got a light trailer, we
then
got cones taped out
Our
some areas.
focus is just reminding people of our move over law. That's what we have going on at this time. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Tony. Great report out. Just fantastic work. Thank you, sir.
I see John Sullivan and Nancy Powell's hand up, but I don't know if that's from before or new.
Okay. Nancy, were you going to say something?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can.
Good. I've posted a couple of links to our personal story in MoDOT for Clifton Scott, who was an emergency response operator that was killed while he was providing services on a crash scene. And it's very personal. It was published a week before he was struck and killed. So MoDOT for the last years have been conducting a day of remembrance, and that's happening tomorrow. And we're doing all the things that the other agencies have mentioned. It's very personal. I was a new TMC operator at that time, and it's horrendous.
Indeed, Nancy. And we're sorry for your loss, and God rest his soul. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Anybody, New York, Ohio, Oklahoma?
I see Pat has his hand up, Pat Gallagher.
Nevada, hey, Pat. Unmute.
Oh,
Major.
there we go. You got me now, Jim? Sorry.
We do, sir. Go right ahead.
Hey, yeah, I know LaShawn already gave a really good update for Nevada, but I think I'm the only one on for Utah, so I'll give Utah's update. We submitted for the governor's proclamation this year. We did not have one last year. We're planning on hosting a Train the Trainer for Sharp 2 on the 15th in Salt Lake, which we've been advertising pretty heavily, which I still need to get with you regarding logistics and whatnot. We have a DMS move over and responder safety package ready to go. And then part of our plan too with the Train the Trainer classes, probably everybody on the call has experienced this issue, is that once you train these new instructors, it's difficult to get them to go out and actually engage and put on a class. So our plan, and we've been successful in doing it, is the following day after Train the Trainer is that we'll expose the new instructors to a Sharp 2 class and help them out and navigate them through. So they get a taste of it right away and it's not forgotten weeks or months down the road. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Outstanding. Great strategy there, Pat. Thank you for all you do. Utah and your state, Nevada. Pat's a retired trooper, retired major from the great state of Nevada. Tennessee.
Can you hear me, Jim?
Yes, sir, John. Go right ahead.
There's a big job in Tennessee. Good afternoon, everybody. We're just trying to do as much as it was did last year. Hopefully going to do more. We've already got our proclamation in order. It's already been signed and got that squared away. Planning on doing as many activities as we can. Obviously, the Tim's training, train the trainers, and doing mass media events and overhead signs, and just trying to get the word out as much as we can, doing our part.
Yes, sir, John. That's awesome.
Mr. Sullivan, would you share with Jim and myself the signed proclamation? Because one of the things we do want to do is every state
Absolutely.
that has one, we want to make it available so that others can see what your proclamation looks like.
I will send it to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Texas.
All right, Jim, just a heads up, we are about 3 minutes to close, so I don't know if you
Yeah.
want to.
Texas, Utah. I told you about Virginia, Washington, Wisconsin. Unmute, feel free. We got Utah, I'm sorry, from Pat. Texas, Washington, Wisconsin.
Hey there, can you hear me, Jim?
Yeah, Camille, Texas, how are you?
Good. Long time no speak.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, we are with the I'm with the North Central Texas Council of Governments, and so I know we are still doing social media campaign messages and the changeable message boards. We do still have our 2-day first responders and managers training. We don't have any currently scheduled past October, but we will have our traffic incident management executive level course in in November. So we'll probably have a big push tied to that as well. And that's a 2-hour overview of what's covered in our first responders training. So we still have those ongoing trainings scheduled as well.
Very good, Camille. Thanks for that report out. Anybody else? 2 minutes. Anybody else real quick? Did we miss anybody?
Hey, Jim, Vince in Washington.
Hey, Vince, how are you?
I'm excellent, thanks. We're on course for doing what we did last year with our proclamation and several media and VMS boards, kind of just gearing up for the onslaught. So.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And we love that P word, proclamations. Bring them on. We need to show off. We need governors to know. And anyway, this slide here regarding everyone on the call today. I know at one point we had a high of, I think, 115. We're still very strong at 81, but we've asked for the contact information to be emailed to Vishali and myself. Please, if you can, I really appreciate knowing who your public information officer is, communications officer. Just for our internal purposes, we're not, sending that out. That's so funny. As I'm speaking, our PIO, Nancy Singer for Federal Highway, just sent an email. I didn't catch the gist of it, but anyway, that's so interesting. And one last thing, where'd you go, Vishali? Did I?
That's okay. We can just go to this. We'll skip the other thing.
Okay, so this is the big deal. This is game day, if you will, on Monday, November 14th, the national kickoff webinar for Crash Responder Safety Week. So obviously you're all invited, and there's a huge dynamic, very, very fantastic webinar that will occur. And I will say it's not confirmed, but we're trying hard to have another event finally come back from the pandemic after 2 years of no major events regarding CRSW at DOT headquarters in Washington, D.C., and invite the local states and any states really, but there's going to be hopefully an event, hopefully, fingers crossed, similar to the one you see behind me, this image here. I don't know if you can see, I'll move over. That right there is Secretary Elaine Chao from previous administration speaking at the event at headquarters. We actually shut down New Jersey Avenue, and behind her you see representatives from Maryland, Virginia, DC, and that who was it that mentioned the event at TOW. Pat, you mentioned the vehicle in the coffin. I'm so sorry. What is it?
Spirit Ride.
The Spirit Ride. That's the actual RV from the Spirit Ride in the backdrop. So anyway, we're 2 minutes over. I still want to take a second, if you don't mind. Paul, are you there? How about Joe Tebow?
Hey, I'm here, Jim.
Great, Joe. You want to make a couple of remarks?
Well, just briefly, and that is just thanks to everyone for all your efforts. I'm a firm believer, and so are you, that Tim saves lives every single day. And we need to we need to fly our flag every opportunity we get to promote this and educate the public. So keep doing what you do. God bless each one of you.
Amen, brother. Amen. Paul, you there? I want to give you another chance if you're by chance still there. Otherwise, huge thanks again to Don Miller and Joel Feldman for their work, just outstanding work. It's a must to continue training our young drivers and our old ones too. So,
Jim, I did want to tell you that I was on, but this whole idea of keep me on mute is really aggravating to me.
oh
but-
my gosh, Paul.
Yeah. So just so you know, no one could talk until Luann unmuted them. I'm not sure that's the right approach. I echo what Joe and Jim are saying. You guys are all awesome. Joel had me choked up as well with 2 daughters. You know, and one of my very recent and pet peeves is distracted driving anyway. So I you know, I think I'm gonna try to get involved with that whole thing. That's really annoying to me. So sorry, I know we're late, but thank you, everybody. You're all so awesome. Big hug to everybody. And Jim, you're doing a fantastic job along with Vaishali. I really appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thanks, Paul. I'm glad you got through. Sorry about the audio problems, everyone. We'll do better next time. And big thanks again to the National Operations Center of Excellence and Vaishali Shah with our contract team. Echo Mark or Paul's remarks. Big virtual hug for everyone. God bless and stay safe out there, okay? We'll be in touch.